The Belhar Confession is not just another document in church history. It stands as a testament to the enduring struggle for justice and equality within the Christian community. It is a powerful cry for justice and unity born out of the terrible sin of apartheid in South Africa. This confession emerged from the depths of a society torn apart by racial segregation and systemic oppression. In 1982, the Dutch Reformed Mission Church, a church comprised mostly of people of colour, adopted this confession. This was a significant moment in history as it marked a clear and courageous stand against the injustices that plagued their daily lives. It was a bold statement against the racism and oppression they faced daily. The members of the church were not just passive observers, they were active participants in the fight for their dignity and rights. But Belhar's message resonated far beyond South Africa. Its call for justice and unity echoed around the world, inspiring countless others to join the struggle against oppression. It spoke to the heart of the Christian faith and challenged believers everywhere to confront injustice. The Belhar Confession reminded Christians that their faith demanded action, not just words. The confession's authors knew firsthand the evils of segregation. They had lived through the pain and suffering inflicted by a system designed to dehumanize and divide. They had seen how apartheid, supported by the white Dutch Reformed Church, had torn their nation apart. The church, which should have been a beacon of hope and love, had instead become an instrument of division and hatred. Families were separated, basic human rights denied, and violence was rampant. The Belhar Confession was a response to this overwhelming injustice, a declaration that such a system was incompatible with the teachings of Christ. The Belhar Confession was a resounding no to this evil system. It was a call to action, urging the church to stand up against the forces of oppression and to work tirelessly for justice and reconciliation. It proclaimed that God stands with the oppressed and calls his church to do the same. The Belhar Confession continues to inspire and challenge us today, reminding us that the fight for justice is far from over and that we must remain vigilant and committed to the cause of equality and human dignity for all.
To truly grasp the significance of Belhar, we must first understand the darkness it emerged from. The Belhar Confession is not just a document, it is a beacon of hope that arose from a period of intense suffering and injustice. Apartheid was a brutal system of racial segregation enforced in South Africa from 1948 to 1994. This system was designed to maintain white supremacy and control over the country's resources and people. It was a time when the color of your skin determined every aspect of your life. From where you could live, to the schools you could attend, to the jobs you could hold, every detail was dictated by racial laws. Black South Africans were treated as second-class citizens in their own land. They were forced to live in overcrowded and underdeveloped areas, often without access to basic services like clean water and healthcare. They were denied basic rights, subjected to horrific violence, and forcibly removed from their homes. Families were torn apart, and communities were destroyed as people were relocated to make way for white settlements. Tragically, the Dutch Reformed Church, the largest Christian denomination in South Africa, used its theological influence to support apartheid. The church's leaders preached that apartheid was divinely ordained, providing a moral justification for the regime's policies. They argued that racial segregation was God's will, twisting scripture to justify their racist views. This manipulation of religious texts created a veneer of legitimacy for the oppressive system. This caused deep divisions within the church itself. Congregations were split along racial lines, and many black Christians felt alienated and marginalized by the very institution that was supposed to offer them spiritual solace. Many black Christians felt betrayed by a church that claimed to follow Jesus, who taught love and unity. They saw the church's support for apartheid as a profound contradiction of Christian teachings. It was in this context of pain and betrayal that the Belhar Confession was born. The Belhar Confession emerged as a powerful statement against the injustices of apartheid, calling for reconciliation, justice, and unity within the church and society at large. It stands as a testament to the enduring human spirit and the quest for a more just and equitable world.
At its core, the Belhar Confession is a powerful affirmation of the unity of all believers in Jesus Christ. It boldly declares that nothing, not race, ethnicity, or social status, can separate us from the love of God in Christ. This unity is not a human invention, it is a gift from God. Belhar reminds us that when God looks at humanity, he doesn't see color or social standing. He sees his children, created in his image and equally loved. Therefore, any attempt to divide the church along racial or social lines is a sin against God. It is a rejection of the very heart of the gospel. In a world obsessed with division, Belhar's message of unity is as relevant and urgent as ever.
Section 4. Reconciliation, healing the wounds of racism. The Belhar Confession goes beyond simply acknowledging the unity of believers. It calls us to actively pursue reconciliation. This means confessing the sin of racism, both individual and systemic, and working tirelessly to heal the wounds it has inflicted. True reconciliation requires more than just words. It demands action. Belhar challenges us to move beyond superficial gestures and engage in the hard work of dismantling racist structures. It calls us to listen to the voices of those who have been marginalized and oppressed, to acknowledge their pain, and to work alongside them to create a more just and equitable society. Reconciliation is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong journey of healing, restoration, and justice.
Section 5. Justice, the indivisible principle. The Belhar Confession recognizes that true unity and reconciliation cannot exist without justice. It emphasizes that justice is not merely a peripheral concern, but a foundational element of true community and peace. It reminds us that God is a God of justice who sides with the oppressed and calls his followers to do the same. This divine alignment with the marginalized is a call to action for all believers, urging them to reflect God's heart in their daily lives. Justice is not optional for Christians. It is at the very heart of what it means to follow Jesus. To walk in his footsteps is to actively seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Belhar calls us to be agents of justice in a world rife with inequality and oppression. It challenges us to move beyond passive acknowledgement and to engage in proactive efforts to dismantle systems of injustice. It challenges us to speak out against racism, poverty, and all forms of injustice. This call to action is not limited to grand gestures, but includes everyday acts of kindness and advocacy, and all forms of injustice, recognizing that every small effort contributes to the larger goal of a just society, and to work tirelessly to create a world where all people are treated with dignity and respect. This tireless work involves both personal and collective efforts, from volunteering in local communities to advocating for policy changes. We cannot claim to follow Jesus while ignoring the plight of the marginalized and oppressed. Our faith compels us to see and respond to the suffering. Justice is not just a social issue. It is a gospel imperative. It is a reflection of God's kingdom on earth, a tangible expression of his love and righteousness.
Section 6. Belhar's call in our time. Though born in the struggle against apartheid, the Belhar Confession's message resonates powerfully in our world today. Racism, discrimination, and division continue to plague our societies. We see it in the headlines in our communities and even in our churches. Belhar's call to unity, reconciliation, and justice is as urgent as ever. It is a call to action for every Christian, urging us to stand up for what is right, to speak out against injustice, and to work tirelessly for a world where all God's children are treated with dignity and respect. Let us embrace the message of Belhar and work together to build a world where unity, reconciliation, and justice prevail.